Bimba Falami.
Thank you, Chair. So my question is directed particularly at Ms. Pinchbeck. I've got a huge amount of respect for you personally, as you know. And I think you're a class act. However, relating to some of your members, I have seen this, by the way, in my own constituency, in addition to what I'm about to say in relation to UK hospitality. So Emma Nichols has said that many of her members, as hospitality businesses, report that suppliers offering rates above wholesale prices, hiking standing charges, demanding large deposits, and I quote, "The behaviour of energy suppliers over the past 4 months has been nothing short of disgraceful." So what's your sense of that? Do you think she's wrong? And if you don't think she's wrong, what are you doing about it, and how are you working with your members to improve that situation?
Thanks, Bill. I'm glad we're talking about non-domestic, and I know you've got a panel with Kate and others later. I've spoken to Kate, in fact, all of the panellists that you're talking to later, myself in the job, and we worked with the business groups to call for special support for the business sector when we could see that the challenges facing them were different to the challenges facing the retailers. We will continue to do that. We've also gone to our members and asked for if they've got evidence of bad practice or where they're concerned about their business customers or what they can see in their books, which we'll provide to the regulator, but also provide to people like Kate Nichols and UK Hospitality. The non-domestic is a much more complex picture than domestic is the short answer. And the risk to the suppliers is much bigger because of the way that we have to hedge for businesses and the risk of businesses. So to give you an example, a pub, my local hairdresser and my kids' nursery might all have the same footprint, might all have similar energy demand, but it'll be at different times of day and they'll be very different businesses in terms of the risk posed to suppliers. So they all require different contracts and different terms. The contract terms, therefore, can look very different across a sector like Kate's to a different sector of the economy. And that often leads to businesses saying, this feels unfair, but it's often just the reality of the risk plus the cost of the energy at the moment. They're also not protected in the same way as domestic customers. Things we've done, apart from looking for evidence of bad practice, and again, it's the same message as on domestic. If there is bad practice, we're the first people to want to call that out and stamp it out. We're working with business groups on the support that they need and how quickly we can bring it in, and calling on government to take care of businesses in the way they have with retailers. We're concerned about the capacity in government on non-domestic. We think, and perhaps Jonathan will clarify, but we think there's only 2 people-ish in Ofgem working on non-domestic versus the numbers working on domestic. And then lastly, we have called for the regulation of third-party intermediaries, of which there are many in the non-domestic space. These are kind of energy consultants, brokers, etc. Just to give you a flavour, there are 1,000-ish third-party intermediaries in non-domestic. About 3/4 of small and micro businesses will get their energy contracts through TPIs rather than directly with suppliers. It's about 1/3 of the volume of contracts. And so we have said for a long time that bit of the industry needs regulating.
Okay, but at the moment, how profitable is that bit of the industry in comparison with domestic market?
It's hard to say because I'm waiting on year-end figures, which is not
What was it last year?
I don't know off the top of my head, Ben, but I can provide to you. What I will say is they do make some profit on that sector, unlike in the retail space.
That would be that's where I'm going. This is my last point, Chair. It strikes me that because of the very intense, stringent, public-facing regulation on the domestic market, a lot of other things that are more profitable are happening in the non-domestic market. And I just wonder whether my intuition on that is correct. And if so, I know you said some things that you want Ofgem and the government to do, but critically, do you think that those bills are too high overall and that we need to work to get them down? Or do you think that it's, the market can make things a bit easier, but ultimately they're not too high? And you think the industry is behaving appropriately?
I think there's 2 answers to that question. One is the heterogeneity of the market makes it difficult to say that across the piece, and we're cooperating with the regulator and with our own members to get kind of some sense of what's going on in the market as a whole. But I haven't seen any evidence of that so far. It's that thing about, I appreciate the instinct from folks like UK Hospitality who say, my bills are higher than this other bit of the economy, or my bills are higher than domestic households. Is this how companies are surviving? I haven't seen any evidence of that, and we have asked that question of members, and often is the case that the bills are higher because the risk is greater in that section of the economy. UK hospitality is struggling. If you're providing a 5-year contract and buying energy 5 years ahead and hedging for that, the reality is it's a higher risk in that bit of the economy to say one that's more stable. And again, just pulling back from this, we've seen the figures from the IMF this morning, and we have seen the figures for affordability and the cost of living crisis across the piece, and this looks like a much bigger issue for both businesses and for domestic householders, and something that is just about energy pricing.
Thank you, Chair.